Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 17th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 431. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for time breakdowns in the description of the show. To recap this past week leading up to the final regular season week of the NLL season, Phil's article dropped on Tuesday, breaking down their 7th straight victory, this time over, who did they just beat, Phil? Rochester. There we go. Got it. All the wins just stack up and blend together. Interview Wednesday with Oshawa's own Dan Malta. Give that a listen. It's, I think, 46-ish minutes long. Give that a listen if you're headed out to Oshawa. Put it on as you're driving out there. That's where I'll be this weekend. Power Rankings and Week 21 Pick'em. It's the final week for these. Those came out on Thursday, so big thank you to everyone that stayed along with the Power Rankings all year long, and a massive thank you to everybody that participated in the People's Picks for the BSC Pick'em this year. It was a very fun success. Phil, you're currently, you can't lose. The People's Picks can catch you, and I can't. I only picked 2 different than you. I chose that based on I just want to finish with a good record. That's who I thought. So rather than do what I've done in the past and have to pick a bunch of upsets to try to catch up and then my record takes a hit, I'm just like, I'm going to pick who I think's going to win, and whatever happens, happens. But the people picked 3 different, so they can at least tie you. How are you feeling with that? Your season-long run of being the champ. I think you've been in the champion, like, first place all season long. How are you feeling that People's Picks can catch you?
It's scary. I haven't ridden this long of a hot streak. Like you said, maybe we'll have to go back at the end of the year and see when I took over the first record. But it's always fun to pick and make educated guesses and do the best we can. Like you said, no matter how we finish, we all have pretty good records. So pretty proud of us. I don't know what my record was last year. I think that'd also be interesting.
I do have that.
Oh, okay.
Because I went through, and we've done this 3 years now. This is the first year we've done People's Picks. So in 2023-24 season, you went 74-61.
Okay.
I went 78-57, and producer Pat went 86-49. So he crushed it. Last year, producer Pat went 73-53. You went 70-59. And I came in last at 65-61. This year, we're absolutely annihilating everything. You're currently, with 9 games to go, 77-40.
Okay.
I'm 74-43, along with People's Picks, who are 74-43. So we've already blown last year's record out of the water. I think we're coming close to the all-time winning percentage that producer Pat currently has 2 seasons ago. But that also had 18 more games because Panther City was also included in it. So we got to go with win percentage over anything.
I was wondering why it was a little bit lower.
Yep. That explains why.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I've never had less than a 70-win season. That sounds fantastic. If you're the Sabres, you'd love a 70-win season. So, I'll take what I can get.
Perfect. And I'm getting that back to where we got to go. And we'll start on today's episode. We're going to do the Sabres' final 2 games. We know the opponent. We know the day. We don't know the time yet. Everybody that's listening to this will know the time. We got Ask the BSC. We got 4 questions that got written into us, 3 based on NLL stuff and 1 personal. It's the first time somebody's asked this personal question. Buffalo versus Oshawa preview. And Week 21 outlook to round out the regular season of the NLL. We'll start with the Sabres, though. Monday, they clinched it. I was on talking Buffalo immediately after the game. It was a late-night recording, but it was a fun kind of going down memory lane of where we were to start the season and how it's felt the last 14 seasons. So go listen to that one. It came out on Tuesday, I believe it was. But yeah, there was like 1,100 views on it before we even during the live portion of it. So a lot of people stayed up and watched it. So thank you for everybody that did. But Buffalo wins 5-1 over to Chicago to clinch the division and take it home. And then Wednesday, I can't remember who tweeted this, but it was a funny tweet of, oh, great, another meaningless game 82 in the history of the Buffalo Sabres, but for a good reason. Game meant nothing. Tage, McLeod, Zucker, Samuelson, and Dahlin did not even participate, and UPL, I should say. He backed up Ellis. But they lose 4-3 in a shootout. It was an entertaining game for those that were in attendance. So, Phil, they finished the season 50, 23, and 9 with 109 points, 3 points clear of the division, and only 4 points behind Carolina, who won the East with 113. So they match up with Boston in the first round. It's a Sunday game. From all the rumors, it's sounding like it's a 7 o'clock game, which that kind of affects our recording. So we'll have to communicate what time we're going to record at. But I guess overall, what are your thoughts on the regular season coming to a close? Your feelings of not only did they break the drought, but they won the division in a year where you needed 107 points. They got 109 to win their division. A team in Washington finished with, 95 points, and they didn't make it. Like, it's insane. 95 points would have won you the Pacific over in the Western Conference, which is just insane. So not only did Buffalo break the drought, but they had to break it in one of the toughest years that we've seen in a very long time. So I guess, what are your thoughts on Boston as a whole, but the season in general?
Yeah, we'll start with the season. Obviously, we've talked about it a billion times now. Just from where they were at the beginning of the season, us possibly limiting their coverage, and I think it was my boss today was telling me that even the other Sabres podcast, the big one with is it Reve who is part
Okay,
of
and
it?
Andrew Peters, yeah.
Yeah, I guess they were also talking about kind of maybe moving away from their podcast because it's the same stuff over and over and it's just depressing and there's nothing really to talk about when it's 14 years without making it. And then boom, they woke up and came alive and
They
here
started
we are.
trying.
Yeah, they started that whole trying thing and buying into your coach's system, which is, wild. What a concept. But here we are. They finally listened to Lindy Ruff and they did a great job in the end. And yeah, winning the division is pretty great. Like, I feel like best case scenario this year, you and I had, I think, no interest in them making playoffs, had interest in it, but no realistic thought that they would. But I think best case was them sneaking into a second wild card spot, maybe on the last couple of days to see them not only be fighting for the Atlantic as late as they were, but to actually win it. And like you said, 3 points clear of the victory is pretty wild given where they were and having one of the best historic 40-game stretches in NHL history and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. Like, if there's a way to emphatically stop the drought, this was absolutely it. Like, it's not just sneaking in like the Bills when they finished theirs after 17 years. Like, they needed help. It was the last game, snuck in. Like, the Sabres had no interest in sneaking in. They stamped their name on this season. And the biggest thing now, other than Boston, is don't not make playoffs next year. I know we have a long time before we're talking about that, but it's already in the back of my mind of this can't be a one and done. Like, even you said they were 4 behind Carolina, so there's room to grow. There's you didn't win the whole Eastern Conference, so you got some spots to go up. Yeah, I think that's something that scares me in the future. But as far as Boston goes, I think one of the biggest things we're going to find out, and it's a much smaller league, so it's hard to say, but I think Buffalo has proven what playoff experience can mean and how much it can matter being that veteran team. And I think the Sabres are going to try to prove that playoff experience is just that. It's more of a mental state than something that's actually necessary. I think Boston obviously is a lot more playoff experience on that team, not an insane amount like some of these teams, but still way more than Buffalo, who's one of the youngest teams in the league. So I'm very interested to see how much playoff experience truly matters. I'm happy that their first two games are at home. I think that's going to be big, just being a little bit more comfortable and breaking into playoffs. If you had to go away for those first two games, I think that would have been a bit of a nightmare scenario. But as far as Boston goes, I think they match up pretty well. I think it could be possibly a low scoring, not the most exciting series. I mean, exciting, low scoring intensity, but not a high flying series. I think if Buffalo wins, they're going to need to find 3 or 4 goals a game, and that's going to be really tough to get to. But if their offense can show up the way it has throughout the year, I think they can take it. But if their offense sputters and Swayman can steal the series, because we've talked about it a million times as far as the NLL goes, you need a really great goaltender, and goalies can steal playoff series by themselves, can steal games by themselves. And I think that could be the deciding factor. That's another thing I'm interested in, is just to see how UPL does in his first playoff experience. He's been pretty consistent recently, but will he have one of those games where it's just a down game and all of a sudden you start the series in the first game and you lose 5-2 and you're like, oh boy, like what are we going to do? And then finally, the power play is continued to be a joke the entire season, and now it's over 22. It'll be interesting to see how much that matters, because like you mentioned, they call a lot less in the playoffs, so hopefully there just aren't that many power plays given to either team, so it doesn't make as big of a difference. But in a game that could be really close, power play goal could be what switches that game from a win to a loss. So I don't know. The power play, the fact that they haven't been able to fix it for an entire season is a bummer, but they won the Atlantic, so you can only say so much, I guess.
Yeah, to go back on the season, like I've already nearly cried on this show anyway, so I'm not going back there. But I will say we did have serious conversations on limiting or canceling this Buffalo Sabres altogether, because you and I kind of got sick of even just trashing them because it was the same stuff over and over again. And I'm glad to hear that other people were the same way, of just there's nothing else you can say about this team. It's just negative, negative, negative. So I remember last year where I said they're never making the playoffs again. Like I said that emphatically because I really meant it. I'm happy that it just like all of a sudden a switch flipped and it's over. But I'm with you. I'm also with you. It's like this could be their best year to ever go get something done, because Florida's had a down year, Toronto's had a down year. Like you're able to beat teams like Tampa Bay. You're able to beat teams like you've shown that you can hang with Carolina. Like I don't think there's for as good as the East was, I don't think there's a top dog. Like with the West, it's Colorado. Like
Yep.
Colorado's by far and away the best team in the NHL. But for the East, there's so many good teams that I don't think there's a one clear top dog.
Yep.
I think this could be the year where, yeah, river hockey could work for the Buffalo Sabres. I want to see how that translates to the playoffs when the ice shrinks, when the extra late stuff is allowed, when the refs put the whistles away. Because honestly, with Buffalo's worst quality and their worst aspect of the game being the power play, that could be okay. Like a lot of teams thrive because of the man advantage. If Buffalo stinks at it and they're so good at 5-on-5 play, that could come into being a beneficial thing in this playoffs. I know they're not the biggest team. I do think that Boston's going to try to take them into the corners and just bury them, and Buffalo's got to be able to respond with it. And I do think that, and WGR this morning on Thursday was like, okay, but who's going to thrive with Buffalo in that style of hockey? And they were like, Krebs could and Benson could. And they're not the biggest ones on the ice, but Benson, I'm so excited to see what antics he does, because he's like Brad Marchand, like 100%. He's one of those ones that you hate to play against, but you love on their team. And yeah, he's not at that skill level yet, but he has those same qualities where like he's getting punched in the face and laughing at it. Like that's kind of a quality I have, where it's like, I like to annoy you to the extent that you want to physically hurt me. And every time I laugh at you, it makes you that much more angry. So I love Zach Benson as this type of player. But my biggest concerns for Boston are, the power play is not very good. But again, the refs are going to swallow their whistles a lot. Swayman can steal you a series like you mentioned. I think they need to get solid goalie play out of UPL. We haven't really seen a Lindy Ruff Buffalo Sabres team without an elite goalie. Like, he went from Hasek to Ryan Miller, and a lot of his teams were back ended in, and their strength was a superstar goaltender. UPL's had a very good season, but I would not consider him in the same category as Hasek and Ryan Miller, who one of them is one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Some people would say he is. I'm one of those. And Ryan Miller is a future Hall of Famer. I'm not comparing UPL to that, even though he's had a very good season. So I want to see how Lindy Ruff can adjust his style of hockey when he doesn't have a superstar goaltender back there. I think missing Carrick is going to be a massive loss. You saw that down the stretch with, the big time faceoffs in their own zone late in games. That's what playoff hockey is going to be, and I think that's a big reason why they got Carrick. When is Oslin back? And I know they said he's iffy for this series. Getting him back, I think, would be crucial. And then the last thing is like a no duh kind of thing, but it needs to be said again. Your top players need to be the top players. Like, you need Dahlin, you need Tage, Tuck, so on and so forth to be that top line and to be your number one ace players that are producing. If your top players ain't producing, you're probably not going to go very far. So I guess the only other question I have for you is, at least for me, and I know we've had these conversations with the Buffalo Bills, our expectations change and the goalposts move based on what we're seeing firsthand. Going into this, we're just be competitive in April. Well, this team just won the division. They're number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. They're one of the top teams in the NHL. Would it be, in your opinion, a failure to not get out of the first round, or do you see it more of a, I'm going to remember this season as the season they broke the drought. Even if they lose this first round, I'm still going to be happy with it. I guess, where do you fall in line of, if Buffalo, and I know ending this segment on a negative, I'm sorry, but where do you fall on if they do not get out of this first round versus Boston?
Yeah, real quick, Carrick, they said as of today, probably missing round one.
Yep.
Oslin, they said definite possibility to return during round one. So hopefully, if something's going not great with the team, Oslin can give a little spark. But as far as this season goes and them making playoffs, like, mentally right now, I want to see a win and the playoffs. Do not get swept. I think if they get swept, that would be about as depressing as it gets. So right now, mentally, I just want to see a win at some point. Don't get swept. And other than that, I think being competitive, making it look good. Like, if I obviously really want to see them advance out of the first round, I do think not getting out of the first would be a disappointment, but anything, like, they've already far and away exceeded expectations because nobody really picked them to make playoffs at all. So I think no matter what, it's going to have a positive outlook on the season of, you finally ended the drought. Like, it's hard not to, after 14 years. I mean, I forgot what weren't the Bills one and done after their
They lost to the Jags.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So yeah, and so it's same thing. Like, you ended the drought. Yeah, being out in the first round is a bummer, but, like, that's okay. You made it back to the playoffs finally. So I think no matter what happens, it'll have a positive outlook of the team and the season, and get excited for next year. And we'll see more season tickets come back. We'll see the fans come back a little bit more. Hopefully the team will return and be just as good. I obviously, like, to me, if you get out of the first round, after that is house money. Like, I think getting out of the first round is what I would consider a full success of this season, especially because of where they finished the year and winning the division. I think they've proven that they have enough talent on that team and have done enough to get out of the first round. If they had just squeaked in the playoffs by the wild card 2 spot and they got demolished by the top team in the Eastern Conference, then I'd be like, all right, whatever. It just wasn't meant to be. Like, at least you ended the drought. But the way they ended the drought as a top team in their division, I think I want to see them, no matter what, get out of the first round. I think that was where I would say it's a successful season officially. And then after that, I think you are playing with house money. And if you lose in the second round, I'd be perfectly content. Obviously, would love if they won the Stanley Cup. I do not believe they will. But yeah, to me, get out of the first round. It'd be a disappointment to see them lose in the first round. But I think no matter what happens, it'll still be, you broke the drought and move on.
Yeah, you got the monkey off your back. I'm still one that, and I like to relate it to like the Buffalo Bills, where it's you can't be afraid of moving those goalposts because of what was there before. And every time we ever heard about, is Sean McDermott the right coach for this team? Every single time people that went to his defense were, okay, but remember what it was before him. That's what I hated about that response to it, because I don't give two farts about what happened before him. What's currently going on is not good enough. The goalposts are constantly moving. That's what it is for me. So at this moment, with them being the number 2 seed in the East, me seeing exactly how well they've played since December 9th and what they were especially did after the Olympic break, my goalpost moved. If they don't get out of the first round, it's a failure. Like, I'm sorry. And am I going to look back on this season with fond memories? Maybe. But you had a great regular season, and then the playoffs came and you fell to an inferior opponent. They have to get out of the first round, and then I'll reevaluate based on what I saw in the first round. Like, if they win in 5 games, they need to win the second round. Like, if they go the distance in 7, yeah, I just want to see you be competitive in the second round. So right as of this moment, they need to get out of the first round. Otherwise, to me, it's a failure. It's that simple. Like, the goalposts have moved. You've proven you're a very good team. Everything's clicking. Yeah, Norris is coming along here and shooting the puck and scoring. UPL had a fantastic season. Samuelson's comes out of nowhere this season. Like, all the pieces that you and I have said for many, many years of they're banking on this guy to have a career season. They're banking on this guy to come back and have the same season. It finally happened. You can't spoil it, because next year is Lindy Ruff back. Next year is Alex Tuck back. It is Zach Benson going to take that next step? Is Jack Quinn going to keep playing the way he is? Is Samuelson going to revert back to what he was before? Like, you can't bank on everything to work out perfectly. Is Florida back? Like, I think this is the year they need to make that run. They added the pieces to do it with depth on the back end, and I flat out saying they have to get out of the first round. If they don't, to me, it's a failure of a season.
Yeah, you're the Firewolves of a few years ago, where you take the league by storm. No one expects it.
Perfect
No one
example.
expects to see it. You come out of absolutely nowhere, from literally last place all the way to first in your division. Like, this is the year you need to ride all of that wave and just keep going up.
100%. But we'll move on here. Again, their first game is sometime Sunday. You'll know before we do, because for some reason NHL is wait till the very last second to let us ever know what time people are playing on Sunday. But we'll have to adjust our. I'm still hoping it's 4 o'clock, but it's probably going to be the 7 o'clock game. We'll move on here. Bandits. Ask the BSC. We got 4 questions here, 3 relating to the Bandits, 1 personal. So we'll fly through these because there are 4. Phil, the first one comes in. When the full team is healthy, who is your starting 19 going into the playoffs?
Oh, you're stopped. Okay. I thought you were going to rattle off.
I can go if you want me to.
I just thought you were going to rattle off the obvious. I mean, well, I guess we'll just blow through the obvious ones. So your righty forward, Smith, Nanticoke, Bucky, and Joe Terrets. Obviously, lefties, Byrne, McKay, Scanlon. Vince probably backing up Evan C, because you got to get the new guy in there. You got to get him ready for playoff.
Some playoff experience.
Right, he's got to get playoff experience. So Evan C coming out to start. Defense, Priolo, Desnu, Weiss, Robinson, Spanger, Wires, Belter, Dawson. This one I'm going to disagree with the Buffalo Bandits, but Farrell will be in there. And then it comes down to your scraps of Dooley, McCannell, Whitty, Coffey, Hendricks. Out of those, we've seen a little bit of all of them. So that's going to be, again, I'm not even going to attempt to guess what the Bandits are actually going to do. For me, and what I've seen recently out of the defense and this player, and for playoffs, I'm going to go with Whitty as my extra defender. I think he brings that edge that you want to see in playoffs. I think he brings that, like you said, that Brad Marchand talking to the other team, getting in their heads, making them cause penalties, and I feel like he just brings that playoff atmosphere edge that you want to see him. McCannell, as much as I do like him, I feel like he's very reserved. He's not that guy. I think Buffalo has enough of those players. I think Buffalo, they also have some some other witties on the team for sure. Not saying they don't, but I think the defense as a whole and what they've been doing recently is very solid. Like I have like the extra person you're adding isn't adding anything to the defense necessarily. It's so just jam-packed and great and solid back there that extra person to me needs to do something that maybe not everybody brings. And for me, especially with playoff atmosphere, that's witty and just his little bit of grit that he brings and can maybe get in the other team's heads with how much he seems to talk on the floor.
So I should have preferenced this even before we asked that first question. I know we've gained a bunch of listeners in the last few weeks, upticks in numbers, and I know we don't talk about numbers and downloads, but since there are so many new people listening to this show now, Ask the BSC, we post it 24 hours before we record our episodes, so it usually goes out on Wednesday. We're asking people just to ask questions based on the upcoming game, the future of the team, any type of question you want to ask us, we'll post it on the show and answer it. So that's what this segment is. It's the lead up to the game. So every Friday episode, we'll carry that into the off season as well. But yeah, to answer this one, it's the 7 forwards, it's Farrell, it's the 2 goalies, and then you get 9 defensemen. And I think you got the solid 8 in Wires, Dawson, Robinson, Desnew, Weiss, Priolo, Spanger, and Belter. I think those are your solid 8. And then to me, it comes down to Whitty and McCannell. And I agree with you that extra defenseman that gets out there has to add something. So if you want to go faster, I think Mike McCannell is your guy. But based on it being the playoffs and what we saw from this guy last year, when I thought him and Belter were the 2 on the back end that to me stepped up their game the most, I would also have Whitty in there. But here's the weird part. If one of the 8 that I mentioned go down, I don't think that you add the extra guy in. Like if Whitty's the 9th and say we somehow gets hurt again, I'm not adding McCannell. It's Taylor Dooley. Like that's how I see it. And it's not
100%.
just because it's the righty-righty matchup. If Dylan Robinson goes down, it's Taylor Dooley to me. Like
Agreed.
To me, if Dooley was on the active roster, he's my 9th. Like by far over Whitty and McCannell. Just because of what I've seen this season. He's so steady back there, and I think his game has grown, and I think he's put back-to-back great games out there and when he's been on the field. But because he's the practice squad and you need to make room to get him out there, it's between Whitty and McCannell for me, and I agree. It's Whitty to me for all the reasons that you gave, plus what we saw from him in the playoffs last year where his game went to the next level. So the next question, and this kind of goes to the fact of Buffalo needs to win to have their shot at home game, to control their fate, I should say. They can still somehow get it if they lose, but they control their fate to have a home game if they win on Saturday. So, Phil, how critical is a home game for the Buffalo Bandits, especially in a one and done in round 1?
I think it's pretty big. I don't know if it necessarily matters to the final result. I think it matters to the players. Priolo has mentioned it a ton on his podcast of how much they care about having that home playoff game. And yes, the crowd's great. And I think being at home is great, but I think it's just the mentality of in a close game, you get that extra little bit of juice. You're at home. Everything feels comfortable. Like, to me, I think it's big, but I don't think it's big because the opposing team no shot at Bandit Land and how amazing it is. But I don't think the opposing team coming in is necessarily intimidated by Bandit Land. I think it does add a great atmosphere, but it's less about the away team and more about the Bandits feeding off of Bandit Land and being home, being in their comfort zone. And I think in a one and done, you want as many factors going your way as humanly possible. And I think being at home in that regard is big. I did go back through the numbers of their last 5 championship runs. In 25, they were 4-0 at home. In 24, they were 3-0 at home. In 23, they were 4-0 at home. In 22, they were 3-1. They lost game 3. And in 21, they were 2-1. They lost to Calgary in the first game of the championship series. In those games, in 25, they won 2 games within 2 goals. In 24, they won 3 games within 2 goals at home. In 23, it was 1 game. 22, they won 2 games within 1 goal and lost 1. And I think that's where you kind of have the edge. Like, it's not necessarily like Georgia came in and took the Bandits to overtime. San Diego came in and took the Bandits to a 5-4, 5-3, whatever you want to call it, a really, really close game. So I don't think it necessarily affects the away team, but in those really, really close games, I think the home team and home comfort and home advantage can give you that little bit of extra energy and boost to take out your opponent in a very, very close game. So I do think it's important. I don't think it's important for necessarily, I guess we'll call them the stereotypical reasons, but I do think it matters a lot to the team.
I'm in the exact same boat. Again, I feel like I've said a bunch of stuff the last 5 years that Pandaland might think that I'm taking shots at them, and I'm really not. I've went on record. They're the best fan base and best home arena in the NLL
And
by
we
far.
are still part of it.
Yeah, I believe that, and I say that without any shadow of doubt in it. But here's the but. I don't think that they play as big of a factor when it comes to the actual on the field performance as maybe the headlines might claim. To me, I think getting home field advantage is less so about being able to play in front of the fans as it is I don't have to take that extra flight to travel on short notice. I don't have to request off of work to travel a day before and get in. I get to sleep in my own bed. I get to go through the same routines. I know where my locker stall is. I know how to get to the arena. I don't have to worry about all the other stuff about, okay, how is my family going to travel to the game? Like, to me, it's less about actual Bandit land and more about the comfort of playing from home. So, yeah, I believe that in the extra, like in the last 2 minutes of a game, I do think that playing in front of the home crowd gets you that extra juice. But I think also not spending 4, 5, 6 hours on a plane to travel to that game helps with that juice. I think being able to go home and take a nap before the game in your own bed gives you that extra juice. So yeah, I do think that running out the tunnel in front of 19,000 fans gives you that juice to start the game. But guess what? The opponents can have that same fuel of, okay, I'm going to score this goal and shut up 19,000 fans. Like, I do think that the aspect of playing in front of such a great fan base of Buffalo has that advantage for the home team, but just the same side, it can have that advantage to the away team. Like you saw Saskatchewan, yeah, and they ended up now winning, but they can fuel off that of shutting the crowd up and making them boo you. Like, if you have the right mindset as an opponent, that can also fuel you. Like, I want to be the hated guy. But I do think that the comforts of playing from home, like all the added elements to it, are more important than the actual playing in front of your fans type of thing. I think that's more of a headline type of thing than anything else. Again, not a professional athlete, don't claim to be one, but if I was in their position, I would rather sleep in my own bed than a Holiday Inn. That's all I'm saying.
Even before we move on to the next one, even if you want to just go historically with Buffalo, I should have had this ready, but in 25, they went 1-1 for away games. In 24, they went 2-0 on their magical 5-0 playoff run. In 23, they were 1-1 for away games. In 22, they were 1-1 for away games. So other than 24, they're pretty much at 500 for away games. That's not what you want in a round one and done. You don't want that kind of, that's horrible odds when the game is just won and you're done. So I think being at home, whether you want to say whatever it's for, they clearly play better at home. And like you said, it could be the travel, it could be the comforts, all of it. I think all of it goes into one big picture of you want that home game and how much it matters. But even their record for away games, even during these championship runs, not the best. And when it's one and done, give me that game at home.
So the next question is kind of revolves around this. What seed do you think the Bandits end up as? Not what you want them, because everybody wants them to be the number one seed, which is still possible. But what do you think their seed will be at the end of the day come Sunday at like 6 o'clock when we start recording?
So I forgot what I picked in my people's pick. So I just kind of ran through it again mentally, what I thought I think is going to possibly happen or could happen. But For week 21, I, at least of what I just did, have San Diego, Georgia, Halifax, Buffalo, Colorado, Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Las Vegas, Georgia as the winners. I plugged it into NLL stats. Could happen to give me my outcome.
Grant Parrow, great site.
Yes, it is amazing, and we reference it pretty much every single show. And what I ended up with was Buffalo in third, going up against Toronto in sixth. And I would be thrilled with that. I mean, yes, you want to be first or second for longer series into the playoffs. You want home field, but if they're starting with Toronto at home, that is fine by me.
Yeah, I didn't do the opponent part, but I do also believe that they will end up in third. I expect Colorado and Vancouver to take care of business. Colorado's got Calgary. They win, they get the number 1 seed. Vancouver gets Philly. I expect them to win. They get the 2nd seed. I expect Buffalo to win. They stay in third. They could also drop to 4th or 5th. They can't really fall to 6th. Georgia needs to lose. There's still so many different equations out there, and when we get into week 21 outlook, we'll let you know which teams you're supposed to root for, and that varies based on, okay, if Buffalo wins, this is who you want. Like, assuming Buffalo takes care of business in Oshawa, these are the teams you want to win. But if Buffalo loses in Oshawa, that changes things drastically if you want them to have the home game. But yeah, I think the number 3 seed, I think, is their safest spot. What terrifies me is the possibility of Saskatchewan losing to Toronto on Saturday, Georgia winning both, and that pushes Saskatchewan down to the 6th seed, and your 3-6 matchup is Buffalo versus Saskatchewan. That, to me, is the biggest nightmare. You know, the next one is Georgia, being terrified of them as well, but facing Saskatchewan in the first round, that does not seem like something I really want to sign up for, but it's possibility because Buffalo, to me, I think finishes as the number 3 seed in the season.
So there's way too many variables, as you just said,
but
okay, there's just too many games this week for Toronto to even be thinking this way. But if you're Toronto, and there's a decent possibility that you have to play Buffalo at home, are you throwing the game against Saskatchewan to get possibly Georgia instead? I mean, not that Georgia's a cupcake either, but Buffalo has owned Toronto for years and years and years and years in the playoffs. Like, if you could avoid...
I think the best way to avoid Buffalo is to win.
Not what I have.
Really?
Oh, wait.
Like, if they win, they stay in the 4th seed, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to win. Saskatchewan could throw it.
Saskatchewan could throw it and end up in Buffalo. Yeah.
I don't think they want that either, though.
No. That's what I mean. I think you want to win that one. But yeah, I think we both have them in the 3rd seed.
Might be the best game of the week for whichever team doesn't want to play Buffalo more.
I wouldn't want to. But yeah, our final question has nothing to do with the Bandits or the lacrosse league. This is a fun one. This is our first sports related question. And again, this is what do they call it? AMAs, Ask Us Anything. Well, I've said this before, I'll answer anything on the show. So the next question is, what are your top 5 series of all time? And when I told you what one of these questions was, I should have preferenced it more like TV series / streaming series, because there's so many streaming series now. I don't know how to call it, like, because it's not TV. But and then you thought it was like Bandits series.
That's my series. We're going into playoffs.
Yeah, that's my bad. I should have preferenced that it was like streaming or TV series. But I'll give mine in no particular order because I don't think there is an order here. Ted Lasso. I'm skeptical of season 4 just because of how perfect they left it. Like that's hands down a series, and I'm going to try to fly through these because I know we're already 40 minutes in. That to me is a series that started fantastic and ended fantastic. Like, there was no down season. There wasn't any like warming up to figure out what these characters were. It started great and it ended great. Next one is Sons of Anarchy. I love that one. I know I was slow to it because I think there's 6 seasons. I think I started watching it on TV going into the 4th season. So I didn't see it right on TV on FX from the start, but I love that one. It's one that I have only really watched it through fully once, but I don't know if I want to go back and watch it again because I might poke holes in some things. Game of Thrones. I know some people poo-pooed the final season. I'm not one that like critiques every single thing in a show. If it's good, it's good. I don't really look for, oh, they left a water battle on set. I don't look for details like that. So if you're one of those ones that does, I think you hate more TV shows than you're going to like. Sorry. Just me being honest. I love Game of Thrones. Schitt's Creek. That wasn't me swearing. It's the name of the thing. I love that one. That was a one where if they had figured out season one faster and how their characters were, it would be like Ted Lasso where there wasn't a down season. I think season one was their worst season, and then it got so much better. I mean, my wedding song, Simply the Best, came from that. Brooke wanted to pick Ariana Grande something, and I was like, no, this one means more to me, so we're gonna pick this one. The last one, obviously, if you've listened to the show at all, it's The Office. I think Phil's probably tops me in this one, but watching it fully through, I have to be in the 30s, like probably 35, 40 times fully through. Like, it's just such a fantastic season one. Yeah, if you can power through it, I get it, but there's only 6 episodes. But the rest of it is just pure gold. Like, even the seasons without Michael Scott, they're not as good, but they're still stinking good. The Office is definitely a top 5 for me. So it was tough, but those are my top 5.
Yeah, I think to me, at least for the serious shows, I think it comes down to how excited you are for that next episode to come out.
100%.
So Game of Thrones
The
is on my
Pit for
list.
me, I'm sorry, The Pit for me, if there was more seasons, it would be there. It's such a freaking good show.
I do have
But
to get
it's
on that
just
show.
finishing season 2, so I couldn't put it there.
Do have to get on that one. But yeah, like Game of Thrones, like that last season, even though it wasn't as good, like every single week when that came out, the day it released, I was watching it. Like I was fully involved. Like to me, that's when you know you're into that show. The Office, that's our 2 big ones that I think we cross over the most with is Game of Thrones and The Office. After that, this one only had 2 seasons, but I do love it. Mindhunter, if you've never gotten a chance, it's a biopic docudrama. Not sure what it actually is, but it's about the true story of how the CIA came up with serial killer as a term, and they go through and they interview real serial killers from back in the day and everything. It's very, very interesting how they kind of went through the process of all that and what was going on. I think it takes place in like the 70s. The actors are really, really good. Just a good show. Peaky Blinders, by far.
We're on season 2, Phil. We're on season 2.
It's so good.
Peaky Blinders.
It's, my goodness, it's a good show. It is a bit slow for sure. I know one of our friends had a trouble like getting into it because it is slow, but after the first season, like the episodes start really picking up and going together, and Tommy Shelby is just incredible. They just came out with the movie. I wish the movie was, 6 hours long instead of an hour and a half because I didn't want it to end, and I was really sad when it's over. Another way you know that you really like that show. And then my last one, I have like 19 honorable mentions because they're all tied. I have no idea what to go with next. I guess I'll throw 2 just because I really don't think I can pick between them. Parks and Rec is one of my other go-to shows. I've watched that many, many times all the way through. And then the other one, mainly because I was really sad when it went away. It went away because it was a dark time in the world, and it's a very dark show. But Black Mirror is a really, really great show. Every episode's different. Every episode is pretty depressing and with what it deals with. But I do remember the creator stopped it during COVID and basically said he wasn't going to do it because it was a depressing show. And then it picked up, and I was really excited. And I don't think it was as good when it came back, but would love to see more of that show. So those are mine. I got a bunch of other honorable mentions, but we got
we'll get back to the actual recording in progress here. If you're watching this on YouTube and I'm leaning to my right, I told Phil I scrape my arm in soccer, and it's like right where I rest my arm. So that's why I'm like I'm in a weird position posing on this one. So I just wanted to put that out. Yeah, it happened last night, so it's still like fresh and raw. And sorry, I'm going into more graphic details than I need to, but that's why I'm leaning to my right, not normal.
I did forget that. You mentioned your wedding with Schitt's Creek. The Peaky Blinders is at our wedding. We went like old school, and I had the hats that they wear. For me and my brothers, we all wear the hats that they wear in Peaky Blinders. So yeah, also influenced the wedding, one of the shows. Gotta love it.
Yeah, our the group friend pictures was revolved around that. I was in my I probably have it. No, I don't have it up here. It's downstairs. My used car salesman tuxedo went with that kind of theme. But we'll get into what we're here for. Bandits versus Fire. We could go all day talking about. Maybe we'll have to have a sideshow. I know Kyle Bennett from Philly. He has one of those ones where they talk about movies and stuff like that. So maybe we'll have to have him on and have a side bonus episode of this. I could talk hours on TV shows. Bandits versus Firewolves. Final game of the NL season for the Buffalo Bandits. I should say regular season because they're going to playoffs. Buffalo's 5th in the league in scoring. Oshawa's down at 12th. Goals against. Buffalo's all the way up at tied for 5th, Phil. They're just above, barely above 10 goals a game allowing. Oshawa's down at 12th. Power play. Buffalo's 1st. Oshawa's tied for 11th. Penalty kill. Buffalo's 2nd. Oshawa's down at 12th. Shots for. Buffalo's 7th. Oshawa's 4th. And then shots against. Buffalo allows the 3rd fewest. Oshawa down at the 13th fewest. Numbers drastically different. But what I will tell you is these two teams play close games all the time. The last 3 years between the regular season and the postseason, these two teams are 4-4. Oshawa/Albany actually leads the regular season 4-2. Like, that's how close these teams are. Oshawa/Albany always gets under Buffalo's skin. I don't know what Alex Simmons says to these players, but he gets under their skin. And I know their season has not gone how any of them predicted or how you or I predicted. I had them in the 4th speed. They were my number one biggest miss besides Georgia this season. And then Colorado mixed in as well. I was very bad at predicting this season. But you cannot take this team lightly because they play such a different, like, this team is not going to want to go quietly into the night. Like, Glenn Clark had big comments to say. Alex Simmons had massive comments to say. This team is very ticked off with how their season has gone. They're very ticked off on how their last 2 seasons have gone since the finals. And who's the one that kind of ruined their franchise? Buffalo. Like, they have not been the same since that final sweep. And I think Oshawa wants to take it out on Buffalo and play spoilers. So you can look at these numbers one way or the other, but you cannot take this team lightly whatsoever. It's their final game of their first season in Oshawa. They want to give this crowd a bang to come back for next year. I'm a little worried about Buffalo's chances in this one on Saturday night.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, the only reason I'm not worried is because Buffalo is just playing ridiculous right now. But to say that they have no way of losing, I think would be incorrect. I think it's all going to depend. I mean, it all depends on Oshawa and how they perform. But to me, if you can get up early and deflate any fight that they have, I think that's what's going to be your key to victory. If you're up 7-4, 8-4 at half, and they just kind of like, all right, forget it. I think that's your kind of key to victory is going to be the first quarter. It's going to be the first half. It's going to be getting a big lead super early and just they'll go off into the sunset, and so can Buffalo. But if they stay in it and they start to get feisty and want to just be that little brother kicking your shins and staying in the game, I think that's when Buffalo could come up with some trouble. I think that no matter what, I don't see it. Again, I can see Buffalo losing. There's absolutely a path to it. And I think the big thing is Oshawa just playing spoiler and desperate, especially like you said at home. But I think Buffalo is just insanely determined right now with what they have going on in their own worlds. I know it's weird to say a team with 3 championships in a row is that determined, but I think they all know what this season means to the people in that locker room. And I think they're playing for a lot more than just another championship. I think this season, more than any, is probably going to mean arguably the most of them all.
I fully agree with that. It's just there's something playing a team that has literally nothing to lose, that has a guy like Dawson Thie, that has a guy like Alex Simmons, that has players that can get underneath their skin. And last year, the season series split, and Buffalo won the first one 16-10, but then the second one went into overtime where Dyson Williams wins it 11-10. And you've also had a time where Jameson stood on his head in the second game, but he stunk in the first game, and Andrew Kidd comes in and only allows 10 in 47 minutes. So we could also see a Doug Jamieson just shut it down because he hasn't had a very good season this year. He's been up and down, but when he's on, and Steve Pearl said this on his podcast this week, when he's on, he's one of the best goaltenders in the league. But when he's off, he can get beat. And when he's off, that means the backup comes in. And Buffalo has had a very tough time of recent years. I keep saying it, but they have had bad times facing the backup. It's just it's a thing. And I guess this can translate into what we're looking at with the forwards for Oshawa. And again, because we do these interview series, we don't go too much into the opponent. That's why we have these guys and girls on, to talk about that team, because they know more firsthand than we do. We just watch it from afar. They're boots on the ground. But I guess for Buffalo's aspect, I guess I'll go over the players really quick. You got Dawson Thied for the lefties, Ethan Walker, Dyson Williams. And then for the righties, you got Tager Clark, Ty Kurtz. Peshko's kind of been playing out the back door. Simmons, and then Ryan Benesh is the also lefty. So they're probably going 4 lefties, 3 righties. The biggest question is for Buffalo, Nick Wee's health. Like, he was questionable last week. I expect him back. I think even Steve Pearl mentioned it on his podcast last week, and we're kind of dinner with the captain. Go listen to that. I think that was more precautionary than anything else. I expect him back, but do they want to give him another week of rest? Do they rest anybody else on defense? And I know they only have a certain amount of spots that they can rest these guys, but if you got a guy with a nagging injury, say Paul Dawson's limping into the playoffs, do you want to give him an extra rest? So I'm interested to see if they don't want to break up any of this rhythm, or do they want to give guys extra rest? Is there less shifts going on there? So I'm very interested to see what this roster looks like. The next one is stay out of the scrums. Like, Thied and Simmons are going to try to bring you down to their level and get under your skin, because they literally have nothing to play for. They don't even have their own first round pick. They're just playing for pride. Stay away, no suspensions. You don't want to get into injuries. You don't want to get in the corners with these guys. I think keep the Vince train rolling. Keep him hot going into playoffs. Like, Mad Vince is playing at an unbelievable superhero level. And then the other one is keep him under 10 and you win. Like, 7 straight wins. In those 7, 10 or fewer goals. In 4 of those, in 4 straight, they've kept them to 8 or fewer. I think if you keep Oshawa to 10 or fewer goals, no matter what the offense is doing, as long as you get over 10, you win. And I think they're very capable of doing that.
Ryan Benesh needs 5 points to get to 1,400. So if you want to spot him a 5 points, that's all right. But outside of that, it shops there. You're allowed 5 goals.
The only one. 5 goals unassisted.
Yes. He needs 7 goals to get to 600 goals. So, all right, we'll give
7
him
goals unassisted.
7 goals unassisted, and then no more
That's
goals
it.
after that.
We're not giving you 8.
You're done. I do believe Simmons just got in a fight last week, so that kind of goes to prove your point as well. I mean, just don't fight anybody. I think Buffalo's done a really good job of that. Obviously, we just saw an insane amount of fights in the Vancouver game, but most of those were some of those were organized and were just kind of going to happen. I think Buffalo was also kind of looking forward in a weird way, but I think for the most part, they've done a good job staying out of that kind of stuff. So I think they can, but like you said, they've always had a really good way, Oshawa has, of getting under Buffalo's skin, even if they're out of it, and Buffalo has much, much more to play for. I mean, you still just can't put it past them, but Vince has been playing absolutely out of his mind. So no matter what happens on the field, as long as he comes to just do what he's been doing these last few games, we'll see if he can get finish this team with under 10 goals per game would be insane. And I don't think he's going to be able to do it unless he gets a lot of shots on net, but he's also very close to hitting the 80% mark on the season for a guy who is clearly washed and, is done. His time is up.
All I will say is if this game is out of hand at any point, please, JT, for the love of God, get Matt Vince out of there, because not saying Dawson Thied is dirty, but he's not afraid to get close and personal with goaltenders. The worst thing that could possibly happen is anybody getting within breathing distance of Matt Vince. If you're up by 5 going into the 4th quarter, give some time to the rookie.
Yeah, don't wait until you're up by 5 and there's 2 minutes
left. Don't wait till
it's
final TV timeout to do it, JT. Get him out.
Now's the time to get him out of the game.
If
just
no Matt Vince, no chancey.
Yes.
Defensive / transition. I mean, they got a ton of players on this back end, but The one player that I mentioned to, and the way I word it is, who is a player that at the end of the season is not going to get the credit that they deserve. And this is what Dan Malta had to say about that.
Well, I'll tell you, forget what I think, and I'll tell you what Glenn Clark thinks, and it's Jackson Fridge. So he's a guy who was drafted 36th overall.
I can't believe he fell that far.
Yeah, and he just seems to be there, just like Kyle Rubisch. Like there's a lot of times where he'll just be in front of a ball somehow, some way, and you see the coverage he takes on as not a huge defender. He takes on some bigger guys. We saw there were some mismatches against Calgary where Tanner Cook's coming after him, and I know they're trying to get Rubisch over to Tanner Cook, but you can't always do that. And Tanner Cook is now leading the National Lacrosse League in goals because not anybody can really figure out how to solve him. Another Oshawa guy, Tanner Cook. But yeah, Jackson Fridge scored his first goal against Rochester. He's got good feet. He's got good hands, and he has the willingness to be in front of a lacrosse ball that's flying from almost anywhere, and he'll block it with any part of his body. I've seen him take a few off his chin, off his ear. But yeah, he seems like a gamer. I know he lives in a house with 3 other players on the team, 3 of the younger guys. They all live together. So yeah, he's coming from BC, as I said earlier, but one of the 2 guys who aren't from Ontario, which is unlike, I think, any National Lacrosse League roster.
So again, that is our interview with Dan Malta from Wednesday. If you're just tuning into this episode for all the new listeners, we do those to break down the team next on Bandits schedule. So that's why we don't go too much into that. But we'll talk about the Bandits here. How is Scanlon? Like, I can't see a world where he's in based on what we saw, even if it's perfectly fine. Like, nothing tore, nothing broke, nothing like that. You mentioned you saw him for the jersey off the back thing at the end of the game. I think rest and hope he's back for playoffs is the best outcome. But to me, I need to see that Q next to his name and not the O. If I see the O, I'm going to be worried about next week in playoffs.
There's no reason to have him then. Like
I just need to see the question mark.
Yes,
I need to see the questionable.
I
I can't see the out. If I see the out, I'm going to be very worried for it because he's become one of those, not just because he's a depth player, he's become such a critical piece to this offense, getting the loose ball, setting those hard picks for Josh Byrne. I think him and Josh Byrne have built a connection where that's when Josh Byrne started popping off again. He had that guy next to him that he could rely on because Ian McKay was in and out of the lineup and sometimes running out the back end. The consistent was Clay Scanlon, and they had to work on the relationship there. He's this next Chris Cloutier. Nanico, I assume he got hurt in practice or shoot around because he was not on the injury report going into either of those. Is he another guy that you want to give another rest? But again, it goes back to you only have so much room and so many bodies. You can't pull everybody out. So it's picking and choosing. And he was questionable last week. So I'm sorry, he went straight on air. I just said it and I blanked on that. But I think you need to keep the top 5 rolling. And that would be Bucky, Joey, you got Dane, you got McKay, and Josh Byrne. Those are your top 5. You need to get those guys and continue to rolling. You said it. You need to get to Doug Jamieson early. They have very slow starts. And if you get to 11, I think you win. That's my main thing with the offense for the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, I do think the roster construction is going to be very interesting. And to me, there's no way Scanlon plays, but I do see what you're saying that just for the playoffs, you want to see the Q, not the out, because that means he's a little bit closer and possibly could have played if they want him to, but I can't see a world where he plays in this game. I don't know between either another defender or Hendricks or Tyson who they throw in his replacement, but like you said about Nanicook, like, I don't know, you could rest him again. Hopefully he's good enough to just go, even if you have to have him go maybe not as many shifts. You have 4 on the right side when he's out there, so maybe you dress him, but he just plays a limited number of shifts to get some work back in, to get back on the field. I know it's only been 1 game and it hasn't been weeks and weeks, but you still want to see kind of a step forward for his health. But maybe because you have 4 guys over there, you just rotate him in a little bit less. But also, they don't really have a backup righty forward anymore. They had Nielsen, he's gone. Now, if Nanicoke's out and you're missing a lefty forward, I don't really know what you do unless you're throwing Hendricks and Tyson on the left side, and then
I think he would just go 6 forwards again and have
Yeah, that's
Hendricks
true.
out there.
yeah.
Although bad things happen.
When
Bad
there's
things
6
happen
forwards.
when you only got 6 forwards. Like
Yeah.
it's 3 games and 3 injuries.
Well, you said even about Weiss, like I know
Yeah.
it was more of a face thing. So I think his body's okay, but again, you don't want to risk anything where he's not going to be in the playoffs. So I think roster construction across the whole team for the Bandits is going to be very interesting to see who they want to rest and who they're trying to get out there, because they do need to win this game. I mean, this game still means a lot to Buffalo. It's not a sit everybody like it was for the Sabres. Like, this game means a ton to Buffalo. They need to win this if they want to guarantee home field. So you can sit players, but at the same time, you also really need to win this game. So how much are you going to want to sit players? But they also have a pretty deep roster, but not necessarily on the forwards.
Phil, we went over everything. Final game of the regular season for the Buffalo Bandits. What is your score prediction? And are you picking them to win for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th time?
Hey, they have what?
This is the least amount of times you've picked them to win. Last year, you picked them to win every single regular season game.
And my record was great.
You've got a better record at doing this than I do.
And even this time, out of the 13, they've rewarded me 11. 11-2 is a pretty good record. But I am going to pick them to win. I think they got just too much going for them, and I'm going to go 11-7. I think the defense and Vince keep rolling because they're on a ridiculous heater, and I think the offense does just enough to get the victory.
I like it. All 7 of those are from Ryan Benesh, unassisted.
Yes, 100%.
The people took Buffalo at 88%. I think I forgot to mention that. I am also picking them to win. I almost want them to lose this one because going into the playoffs on an 8-game winning streak, sometimes not ideal, but it's the Buffalo Bandits. They've done it in the past, not to this extent, but when they swept Albany, they went on that massive winning streak as well. But I'll say this, if you win round 1, you can lose a game in round 2 and still advance. That's where you can lose one. I got them winning 11-8. So I think we're in the same lines. Keep them under 10, get 11, walk out the door, clinch your home field advantage, and move on and see who you're facing in round 1. But Phil, milestone minute, fastest milestone minute in all the land. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game, so if you miss one and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. I think you just laughed because you saw how many are here.
Big list.
There's 19. Let me clear my throat. No, I'm not the Sabres. Yeah, this is the final one of the regular season, so I was anticipating there being a lot. This is the most we've had all season long. Let's see if I can do it. Ready? Here we go. Cam Wires is 1 cause turnover away from setting a new career high. Dylan Robinson is 1 point and 1 cause turnover away from setting career highs in both. Kyle Buchanan is 4 goals away from 300 for his career. Steve Perillo is 4 penalty minutes away from 600 for a career. He would also pass Brody Merrill for 6th place in NL history. Token Nanticoke is 2 loose balls away from 200 for his career. Mike McCannell is also 2 loose balls away from 200 for his career. Matt Spanger is 5 loose balls away from 400 for his career. Dane Smith is 7 loose balls from 1100 for his career. Steve Perillo and Mitch DeSnew are close to 100 block shots. Steve Perillo is 1. Mitch DeSnow is 2. Steve Perillo, if he plays on Saturday, he will move into a tie with Mark Stanow for 2nd place in Buffalo Bandits history and second in games played with 254. Kyle Buchanan is 3 goals away from tying Darius Kilgore for 8th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Nick Weiss is 2 penalty minutes away from passing Kyle Lafferty for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 2 cause turnovers away from tying Calvin Brownell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 7 assists away from tying Josh Byrne for 6th in a single Bandit season. Josh Byrne is 8 away from tying himself for 6th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 1 point away from tying Ryan Benesh for 9th place in single Bandit season. Buffalo Bandit season. He's 3 away from tying John Tavares for 8th. Josh Byrne is 5 points away from tying Ryan Benesh for 9th place in single Bandit season. He's 7 away from tying John Tavares for 8th.
You gotta work on your your stamina at the end there. You're at 115.
Not terrible for 19.
Not terrible. Not
but
terrible.
Not good enough. Not good enough. Going back to drawing board.
Yeah, and this is, we said it a lot. I know it's hinted. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But as far as the Kyle Buchanan 3 goals away, this might be his last opportunity to get those 3 goals he needs. I think everyone else he listed, oh yeah, that's career. So yeah, everyone else is fine. But Buchanan, you got to get a Hattie. And He could do it. He could do
He
it
needs
for sure.
4 actually for 300.
true.
So
Oh.
get 4.
Get 4. You get 4. The National gets 7, and everyone will go home happy. Done.
Holiday.
Well, yeah, we'll send it into the NLL.
We're over an hour. Week 21 outlook. Here is the main things. There's so much seeding, but this is all you need to know. Winner of Halifax versus Ottawa is in. Losers out. Goes home. Go golfing. Las Vegas needs to sweep San Diego or win 1, and Rochester needs to sweep Georgia. Otherwise, San Diego's in. So the last 2 spots either go to Halifax or Ottawa or Vegas or San Diego. It can't be the combination. It can't be any of those 4. It's that one or that one. That's it. For Buffalo to get the number 1 seed, unlikely, but here's what's got to happen. And this is why it depends on what happens. Like, there's so many moving pieces here. For Buffalo to get the number 1 seed, they need to win. Georgia needs to sweep Rochester. Calgary needs to beat Colorado. And Philly needs to beat Vancouver. That's very, very unlikely. If Buffalo loses, though, you can't have Georgia win both. Otherwise, Georgia is able to jump Buffalo by sweeping Rochester. So to get the number 1 seed, you want that to happen. But really, look at it like this. Do you think Philly is going to beat Vancouver? Do you think Georgia or Calgary is going to beat Colorado? I don't. So it's tough to be rooting for Georgia when, yeah, that needs to happen, but it's so unlikely. So really, you got the Georgia game at 4 p.m. If Georgia loses that game, it's already over. So like it's so weird. Like I'm going to go on the fact of this is what you need to have. This is what you're rooting for to happen for Buffalo to get the number 1 seed. So the first one starts on Friday. It's the big one. Vegas versus San Diego. We each took San Diego, but the people took Vegas at 61%. So real quick, I think we're rooting for Vegas in this one because I don't want to see O-Ring in the playoffs whatsoever, ever. Phil, what are your thoughts on this one real quick?
Yeah, I'm also hoping Vegas wins that one. I mean, more than anything, this is why unified standings are fantastic. Yeah. And congrats to Halifax and San Diego even making it as a potential to make it this late in the season, given where they were not that long ago. I know Buffalo could say the same thing and blew past everybody, but for those who are mere mortals in the NLL, Halifax and San Diego staying alive as long as they have and potentially could both get in. We'll see what happens, but still pretty wild. In this one, though, Vegas hopefully can get in, not only for because, like you said, I don't want to see O-Rig in the playoffs, but also Vegas. It'd be nice if they got in.
Saturday, 4 p.m. I think the schedule makers did very good on spacing a lot of these out. Rochester in Georgia. We all took Georgia. People took Georgia at 84%. For the number 1 seed, you got to root for Georgia. But if Buffalo loses to Oshawa, you're going to be wanting to root for Rochester here. So it's one of those ones that, depending on where Buffalo lands, that's what you're rooting for.
Yeah. It's all weird.
It hurts my brain.
Yeah, and for Rochester, I don't know what they do at this point. I know Oshawa was trying to play spoiler. Like I don't know. Like the mentality of Rochester right now has got to be so tough because I think they know that their team is about to get blown up in one way or another, and they're probably going to have a lot of changes in the offseason. So it's either you're playing for the team that you currently have and want to keep together, or you're just kind of packing it in and moving on. I mean, they're going to try, but Georgia has a lot more to fight for right now.
Yeah, I think if Georgia puts out 3-0 lead, you're going to see things start crumbling pretty fast and pretty easy. Like somebody in our comments was like, I really like Coach Mearns. I'm like, you really think they're going to remove the interim tag after what you saw? Like he got put in a bad situation, but it's not like he turned anything around. Right. I do agree. I think this team is about to get blown up and maybe it's overdue.
Yep.
It might really be overdue. Saturday, 6 p.m. This is one of the biggest games of the weekend because winner is in, loser goes home. Ottawa versus Halifax. You took Halifax. I took Ottawa. The people took Ottawa as well. Teak getting in. I really only want, personally, I think you want to root for Ottawa because I don't want to see Warren Hill in the playoffs. I know Ottawa beat Buffalo earlier on, but that was during that 4-game losing streak. I'd rather face Higgins than Warren Hill this year, and that's not something I would have thought I'd say to start the season.
Yeah, I think you want Ottawa, but they've
If
been
you
on.
want chaos and possibly drama, root for Halifax to see, like, is Jeff Teat finally wanting out of here?
Yeah, for NLL drama for sure, especially with the draft coming up. Could be interesting. But yeah, to me, Halifax is just playing really, really well right now. I know they've lost some games, but most of them been by one goal. They've won some games. Like, I think they're just currently the better team and playing better lacrosse than Ottawa. So I think Ottawa's really got to come up with something special in order to beat them, because the way Ottawa's been playing, they look very, very flat to me right now.
I'm ready to be hurt again by Ottawa/New York. Colorado versus Calgary. You're rooting for Calgary, obviously. We all took Colorado, though. People took Colorado at 77%. I think this is a good tune-up game for Colorado to get ready for the playoffs and be that number one seed throughout.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, Calgary's been playing very tough. There's a world for sure, similar to Buffalo and Oshawa and another team we'll get to later. There's a world where Calgary steals this just for fun, especially with their home crowd, and they've been playing better and better as the season's gone on. But I think Colorado knows they need this one, and I think, again, they're just playing for a little bit more. And Colorado has looked like an elite team recently, so I think they're going to be able to pull that off.
So the loser of this matchup could be Buffalo's opening round matchup. Toronto versus Saskatchewan. You took Toronto. I took Saskatchewan. The people took Saskatchewan at the closest margin, though, 53%. Phil, I think you're rooting for Saskatchewan because otherwise you're probably facing them in round one.
Yeah, Saskatchewan's just dying right now. I don't know what is going on with that team. They are on the struggle bus for sure. Toronto, yes, has had a couple weird games mixed in, mainly that Philly one, but I feel like they've just been playing better lacrosse.
You mean when Matt Sawyer didn't start Nick Rose?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to squeeze it in.
Horrible decisions have been made. But yeah, Saskatchewan is what, 1 and 5 in their last 6. There it is. Yep. So just not good. And you can say, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, they're great at home. They've lost a few at home now, so you can't even bank on a
2-game losing streak at home.
So you can't even bank on home field. I feel like it's gonna be tough for Toronto. I think Sask is gonna want to get right for the playoffs, but you can say that they've been wanting to do that for a few weeks now. So I think that game's gonna be really interesting. And again, in my personal opinion, you don't want to be the loser of that game and possibly play Buffalo at home. Nobody really wants to do that in round one. So could be an interesting one, but I do see a world where Toronto pulls that off.
The second of two home and homes, San Diego versus Vegas. Again, I'm rooting for Vegas to get in because I don't want to see Oregon in the playoffs. We all took Vegas. People took Vegas at 63%.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I don't know what your stat was way back in the day, but it seems like for the most part, if you got a home and home, you split it, whether it's a week apart, same weekend, whatever it is. It seems tough for one team to take both games. So I do think we're going to see a split in this series. I know we'll talk about one that might not split later, but I do just see them each getting 1 and 1. And if you're going to win one, I think Vegas is going to be able to pull it off at home.
Final game of Saturday, Philly in Vancouver. We all took Vancouver. People took Vancouver at 95%. I don't see any world of Vancouver loses this one. And I know I said that last week, and I said they were going to blow the doors off of Halifax, but they ended up still winning. The only juice that, to me, Philly has left is this could possibly be the last game of Philadelphia ever. So that could be the last juice. We saw last week when they dominated Vegas and Demu just shut the door, making 60 saves. I could see that again. Vancouver's been struggling on offense a bit, but I don't see a world where Vancouver doesn't beat Philly in this one in a game where they can seal up the number 2 seed, or if Calgary wins, they can seal up the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think Vancouver just has too much going for them. Last week, like you said, the Philly game was at least in Philly, so they're playing for a little bit more pride in this game. Yeah. They're still going to play. It's still a lot of young players looking to make a name for themselves no matter what happens next. I think they still want to put on a good show, but Vancouver needs to do what they need to do and kind of get that win.
Season wraps up Sunday at 3 p.m. Georgia in Rochester. We all took Georgia. People took Georgia at a very nice 69%.
Yep. This is what I was just talking about, the split that won't be a split. Again, Rochester, it's just... they're on a slide. I just don't think they have a ton to play for. They're going to go out and try for sure. I think Fields is playing for offensive scoring title and possibly MVP. So he's got some stuff he's playing for. I'm sure the team will want him to get that. So I'm sure he will be shooting maybe 20 shots a game and they'll be feeding him like crazy. But other than that, I think Georgia's just a really, really good team. Their defense and goaltending's great, and they need those wins.
Yeah, so if you want to figure out where everybody can line up, go to Graham Parrow's site, nlstats.com. It's a great site. I don't believe you can do it on your phone. I believe it's got to be on a computer. I believe he said because it just doesn't fit on the phone. But yeah, give that a little fun playing games if you haven't yet. But yeah, that wraps up this episode. I'm going to be traveling out to Oshawa up in the press box for that one. It will conclude, Phil. I know we'll probably go over these stats during our surprise thing that's coming up here, but out of the 18 games this season, we had a hand in covering on, like, for press passes, 12 of the 18. So I think that's a hats off to the work we've been putting in this year. We expanded our coverage even further with, we started the interview series midway through last season, and now we've got all 18 covered. We're going to go through the playoffs. I've already got the first round locked up with somebody coming on next week, but I think it's a credit to us for being able to go and cover 12 of the 18 games. Like, whatever is going on, like independents, people with the league, whatever. But I think patting ourselves on the back for what we're able to accomplish this year, because it's not like we're getting paid for this. Like, sponsors is just covering the cost of running this thing. I think hats off to you and I, pat on the backs for being able to cover 12 of the 18 games in person, as a credentialed member of the media. I think that's a hats off to all of us, and a massive thank you to everybody that's been supporting us and listening, because we can't do that if you don't listen, because you guys give us the credibility that, like, if we only get a handful of people that listen, that's still cool because I love doing this. But the amount of people that especially joined on the last couple of weeks, I think it gives us more credibility and gives us those opportunities to do what we enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's a good thing you don't sleep ever and are willing to travel to all these places, go on catwalks, and face your... I don't know if do you have a fear of heights?
I have a fear of steepness, not heights.
Okay, so however you
like
get
a
to
fear
the
of
catwalk,
falling.
don't fall off the catwalks. But yeah, I mean, you've done a lot of work between the notes and the interviews for every team, and going to all these places and working the park passes and press passes, and I think it was for Hamilton, trying to figure out just how to get in the building and if they would even let you into the building. You almost got turned away. I get it.
Little begging.
Hamilton and Buffalo, I get it. Toronto, Buffalo, they probably questioned you at first. Hey, you're covering Buffalo? I don't think so. But no, you do an insane amount for this show as well. And the interview series, even we don't really listen back to our own episodes other than editing. But the interview series, obviously, I'm not on that side of it. So I listen to all those, and it's extremely good work. And like you said, having the people on is fantastic for the other side of it, getting to know the other team, because we can't watch every single game. Or even if we do, we don't know the players as nearly as well as the other people do that are actually part of that organization or cover that team in whatever way. So I think the interview series has been a massive help, and the press passes are a cool little bonus, and they really do give us a different vantage point and coverage that you just don't get the same feeling or look when you're in your seat. So, I mean, as fun as it is to say that we have press passes and everything for a lot of the stuff, it really does add to the show and what we can bring and the notes we take, like when we're in there. It is just a completely different look, and you see things a lot differently than you do even just on a broadcast watching when you have limited camera angles. Like it's just a completely different view up there of everything you can see and break down. So it does add quite a bit to the show as well.
We also go back and watch the game anyways, so
we
watch it double time. But yeah, like I know we're wrapping up our 5th year of regular season coverage for the Buffalo Bandits, so like a massive thank you again to everybody that listens, likes, whatever you got to do for us, or not for whatever you got to do. You don't have to do it, but a massive thank you for doing whatever you do for this show, what you do for this show. Massive thank you to all the guests that we've had on. I mean, I'm going to be going on interview 21 of hopefully 23. Like, the the willingness of everybody to come on the show when they might not know exactly who we are.
Yep.
Like there's been a few guests that were like, we didn't even know who you were, but then I looked into it and, you know, you're legit. And that's because of the people that listen and support and do all that stuff that you guys do on the back end of it. Is so again, we got something in the works for our 5th year that's coming up very quickly. But again, thank you, because we're wrapping up the 5th year of this. I never thought we would last 5 years. But massive thank you to everybody out there that in whatever way you're doing it is supporting us. We're continuing to grow. We're going to continue to pump out the content because I'm still having fun doing this. I don't know if you are. Sometimes it's a grind, not getting paid to do this, but maybe one day we'll put a little money in the back pocket so I could, you know, pay the tolls when I get across the bridge and try to go to Oshawa, because I still don't know where the heck I'm going yet. There's media pass parking somewhere. I don't know. I haven't. Brooke's like, have you? I know I'm going to side tangent. She goes, "Are you taking the truck or the car?" I was like, "I figured the truck." She goes, "Well, are you gonna ramp because your truck might not fit?" I was like, "I haven't even Googled where I'm going yet, man. Like, I don't know. I'll figure out when I get there." It goes back to like meditation before. It doesn't do me anything because I don't stress. I don't care what's gonna happen. I'll get in one way or the other. If I don't, I'll watch it outside. I don't really care. But again, thank you for everything, guys. Guys or girls, it's been another fantastic season, and we got another playoff run. We didn't think we would for a bit. We thought we were going to end at the end of April, but we got a nice long playoff run. Whether the Bandits make a long run or not, we'll be here through the entire playoffs, giving you the coverage that only we can give you, because there's nobody like the BSC out there. Good or bad, Phil? Good or bad? There's no one else out there. We'll wrap this one up. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Club. Where's the outro? There it is. A great way to end it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's articles out there now. You can go get a read, or any other articles you want. They're all out there. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. If you're like me heading to Oshawa, drive safe there and back, and we'll talk to you all on Monday. Until next time, go Sabres. Bye-bye.